My eyes, like these poems, suck something to hold on to, hoping to steady the hour. These lines reiterates a recurring theme of human misery in Jayanta Mahapatra's poems. Students, this episodic lecture is on the poem Hunger, written by Jayanta Mahapatra. Regarded as one of the immortals of Indian literature, Jayanta Mahapatra evokes the meditative and subversive voice of a disturbing silence in the world of poetry. Mahapatra's poems depicts of human relationships and echoes a sense of alienation. If poetry is an expression of one's emotion and feelings, then it is also a tool through which the poet expresses some of his own pangs. Mahapatra is the first Indian English poet to receive the Sahitya Academy Award in the year 1981. Hunger, the poem by Jayanta Mahapatra, brings the plight of exploitation, bestiality of males, poverty, and starvation. Hunger echoes the tragic compulsions of a poor father who entices clients for his daughters who is forced into prostitution. The narrator voices out the pain, anguish, abject poverty, and an untiring struggle of resistance. The poem Hunger appears in the volume titled A Reign of Rights. In this volume, Jayanta Mahapatra, with himself as a silent observer, examines the inexplicable religious mores of the people of Orissa, who follows tradition unquestioningly but never challenges or undermines. These unhesitant ethnic observations. The poem plays on the word hunger, using both its obvious meanings, corporal, that is physical hunger, the need for food, and the other, sexual hunger. The poem is a revelation, rather, a contemplation on how poverty, the bottom line of which is scarcity of food, makes one an easy victim to the sexual hunger of others. The line, "It was hard to believe the flesh was heavy on my back." The veracity of the sexual hunger is difficult for the poet to accept. The penetrating question looms in the poem here in the line, "Will you have her?" and hits the minds of the readers. A statement of offering is done in a very casual, insensitive tone. As the poet follows the fisherman across the sandy beach into the mind titillates because of the excitement. Mahapatra's poems has this varied images of body and mind. As the fisherman pulls out his net from the sea, his body claws. The word claws juggles here between the body wants and the dire needs of poverty. Silence is personified. Mahapatra has a range of silent motifs in his poems. Silence has various images emanating from memory, love, death, and misery. In the third stanza, we get to see an interplay of darkness and light. The flickering lights emphasizes the darkness or the embedded Erebus that poverty enwraps the society. The poet finds the fisherman leans to open like a wound. The image of the oil lamp continues. There is a juxtaposition of the restrictive and the expansive modes. Continues in the next lines where the oil lamp's place. The epithet sticky suggests that the suit cannot be easily wiped. The poet vivifies the suffering and exploitation. The poetry witnesses the injustices, sadness of the hapless society. The poem comes to a close with the poet experiencing an indescribable shock as the fisherman pimps his own daughter who is merely 15 years old. It is noteworthy here where the fisherman is called a father. The exhausted while of a father horrifies the poet and the readers. The girl around whom the poem matures is introduced towards the end of the poem as long and lean, with her ears cold as rubber, and spurts open a horrifying and tragic image. In a candid interview with Satpati, the poet Jayanta Mahapatra himself speaks of hunger, poem, and the impact of his own childhood in his poetry. Mahapatra confesses, perhaps as a result of the childhood, I always feel alone. Hunger not merely reiterates a situation of misery and exploitation, but it also brings autobiographical elements. The poet juxtaposes the elements of horror, dilemma, sneering tragedy of underprivileged. It also brings forth the human lust and greed, an embedded greed in human mind. Thank you.